presented to us. We don't have any public hearings or any additions or deletions to the agenda.
Mr. Mayor, I would like to mention that the agenda that we had published on the website has been updated. We had 3 additions to the agenda. I apologize for that. I'll scramble a little bit. We have one will be a position update on the Lido position, relationship to development officer position, which we're going to speak to you about tonight. We're going to have a CAO update for myself, and we're going to have a housekeeping item related to the org chart in relationship to one of the titles. So 3 items that we're going to be adding to the agenda.
Anything from council for additions to the agenda?
I'm not sure where this fall. I did send around an email. I know it didn't get in, and that's fine. But I did want to bring it up at this council meeting. It's just more of an information, so it can fall under there. It has to do with Homeland Housing and what the government is doing.
Oh, okay. So we've got basically 4 additions. We'll combine yours with the report section, if that works. So I'm looking for a motion to accept, Councillor Cosby to accept the additions to the agenda. All in favor of that motion? Okay, carried. And Councillor Williams, sorry. Okay, thank you. And then I'll accept a motion for the approval of the agenda as added to. Thank you, Councillor Melnick. Any discussion on that? Seeing none, all in favor? Carried. Okay, so we'll move through the item 6.1, regular council meeting minutes of February the 15th. Councillor Butcher.
The motion.
Okay, motion to accept the minutes of February the 15th. Discussion? All in favor? Carried. Okay. We have the agenda item 6.2 is the minutes of the Committee of the Whole meeting of February 22nd. To accept them as presented?
Yes.
Any discussion on those minutes? All in favor? Carried. Good. Right. Any business arising out of the minutes or unfinished business?
None from administration, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, anything from council? No? Okay. So moving through to item 9 on the agenda, 9.1, update to employment policy section 22.
Through Mr. Mayor and to council, one of the things that we deal with often in municipalities is audit processes. And audit processes, whether it's financial audit, pension audit, operational audit, sometimes find things that can support maybe the betterment of the way that we actually do business. One of the audits that we went through was an LAPP audit, and one of the points that they noticed in our policy is that we didn't have dates related to the pensionable date. And so what they've recommended, and it's really a very small administrative housekeeping item, there's no financial impacts, is to, in our policy, add a date aspect in relationship to the way that what the policy reads. So we're recommending to include the recommendation from our auditor and include that in our policy. And so that's what's before you today.
I move that the employment policy section 22 pension be changed based on the recommendations being provided.
Discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All in favor? Carried. Thank you for that. Moving into item 9.2, under new business, the position title update, Community Services Supervisor.
Through Mr. Mayor and the council, one of the things that came through the budget process was a reorganization of how we do our business. And in that, we, again, had a number of goals in relationship to better service delivery, better coordination between our departments, and also a little bit better training and in a sense, succession planning. And in that, we've added some responsibility to certain positions within the organization. In the community services, we've actually added a little bit of responsibility for one of the positions in a sense in where they're supervising people now, where before in their job description they didn't have that. We do believe that it will really support over the long term the risk aspect of maybe losing, an individual, say at the top of the pile when it comes down to one of our divisions, having others that are trained in relationship to supervision, performance appraisals, planning, supervising, those types of things. And one of the things that's important to that is when you give people more responsibility, you should coordinate it with their titles so that they feel that they're being recognized for the work that they're doing. So we are recommending that one of the positions within our community and protective services areas be given the title of supervisor, which also coordinates it with the way that we're actually doing business in the two other divisions, because in each of those we also have supervisors. So again, pretty much a general housekeeping item, not a budgetary issue at all. We're just looking at adding the name supervisor to one of the positions in the community services division.
Hey, just curious, just for everybody. So will this?
We'll grab a motion first, and then we'll have discussion.
Okay, sure. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah.
I'll make,
Councillor Olson had his hand up first.
Make the motion that the community services coordinator title be changed to community services supervisor.
Discussion?
So with the change, will this have any will a position go to supervisor? So will a pay rate have to be bumped up too from a coordinator?
Mr. Mayor, there's going to be no change in the pay rate per se. It's just simply a change in responsibilities. We actually, through the budget process, and already through the divisional changes that we made, aligned the pay rates with what we thought was related to the position and the duties, but we forgot, in a sense, it was maybe my miss a bit, forgot to add the word supervisor. And the individual who's in the position kind of pointed out to us that, you've reorganized, you've given me more responsibility, we've made the organizational changes in relationship to wages, but I don't have the title of supervisor, which doesn't align with the other divisions. And so it's just really, in a sense, coordinating how we do business in a more of an aligned way.
It's a title change.
But no changes in rate.
Oh, thank you.
Anything else from the council table? Councillor Williams, anything? No? Okay. So, motion on the floor to accept the update. All in favor? Carried. Okay. So, we're going to talk about Ludo goals.
Yes.
This is our Land Use Economic Development Officer position. And I'll leave that in your hands, item 10.1.
Mr. Mayor, I'm very pleased today to advise you that we have hired for this position. And again, we've had a lot of discussion with you as council through the budget process, through some of our strategic discussions in relationship to the goals for the town. And we now have a position hired that's going to take care of both development agreements, development planning, and economic development as a combined position. And so I'd like to introduce Trina Lane, who is the successful candidate, comes with a lot of great credentials, a lot of really good again, she had a lot of people that said she does a great job, so I really checked her out. Did fantastic in the interview, and I think it's going to add a lot to the town in relationship to ability, again, drive, and all of those types of things. And so with that, would you like to present your thoughts for what we're going to be accomplishing here shortly?
sure. So thank you for having me and having the ability to work here for the town of Redwater and to be able to present to yourselves. And our very first meet and greet, and I'm going to have to talk to those references of mine. I don't know what they've been saying, but.
Did you pay them? No, I'm just
So agenda item 10.1 through your agenda. The purpose of this council report is a visionary report to explain to you some of the short-term and the long-term goals for the Luado position. You can also call me Lou for short if you want. It's a bit long, but as your land development and economic development officer. So the Luado position was ratified by council during the 2022 budget deliberations, and as of February 28th, 2022, it has been filled by graciously myself, not yourself, but myself. And based on our initial orientation meeting yesterday, February 28th, the following summary of goals have been established and agreed upon amongst administration. There are no financial impacts, but there are internal impacts. The internal impacts are to alleviate the pressure of the utilities and tax assistant by having all the land use and economic development inquiries directed to myself. The external impacts, the community and all external stakeholders will become aware of the new role via community engagement, website amendments, attendance at external strategic meetings such as the Economic Development Board. I plan to become an active member in the committees and the community and various boards as it relates to the functional fulfillment of the assigned role and various other social media platforms. Strategic alignment, as outlined, has been pretty consistent throughout your documents. Did you want me to read through them? If you'd like me to. Sure. Strategic alignment, community sustainability. We embrace community sustainability, focusing on well-maintained and planned infrastructure, effective financial stewardship, and excellence in service delivery. Connected communities. We embrace connected communities by welcoming partnerships, fostering communication, and pursuing healthy.
My fault. You don't have to go through those.
engagement.
I thought you meant the goals. So my fault. So we'll get past that. They know they're strategic.
I
goals.
figured they did.
Yeah.
I don't know what you were talking about.
My fault. I thought you meant your goals. So
Moving forward.
my fault.
Skipping forward, standards, legislation in the Town of Redwater Land Use Bylaw number 811, and Municipal Development Plan number 754, the Redwater Strategic Plan 899. Next steps, the goals. Review and recommend proposed amendments to Council to alleviate the red tape and address the community and staff concerns in implementing the current land use bylaw in an orderly fashion. To perform the role and responsibilities of the Luedo under the direction of the Development Authority in a timely manner. Commence the issuance of any outstanding development permits, requests for compliance, and ratepayer inquiries. That actually started yesterday. I was answering phones. Amend the Town of Redwater website to include primary contact information and a land use corner on the website to provide timely, brief development tidbits to the general public, i.e. deck season, what you need to build a deck. Did you know? Observe, review, and collect user feedback on the current land use bylaw to determine what is working well and what needs to change to better suit a municipality of our size. So just to elaborate on that a little bit, I plan to reach out to the administration as well, the community, and then I will bring a briefing to council based on what I've heard before I come to you. So review the current and outstanding development agreements, review and familiarize with current and proposed economic development activities and initiatives. And that is my report to you.
And if I may, just to add on to this, a couple of things that we've discussed over the last number of months that I've been here. Some of the key things that we're really going to be focusing on is, again, really looking at red tape reduction in relationship to development, but also really pushing that economic development goal that you have in relationship to long-term strategy. We're looking at focusing on things like, again, that land use bylaw update, getting rid of red tape out of there, making something that's a little bit more Redwater based, not City of Edmonton bylaw, but something that's actually really a Redwater land use bylaw, and something that developers and others that, you know, basically even if you're doing a deck or a fence, whatever it might be in town, great process, fast, efficient, effective, that's what we're after, right? So really high levels of service, but also very timely in terms of how we do things. We're looking again, municipal development plan views, economic development activity review and update, and basically what we'll be looking at, and I'm not sure in terms of the timeline, we kind of arm wrestled a bit today in terms of like putting a timeline in, so we didn't, but one of the goals that I said that's really important on the council is really developing that overall development and economic development strategy, so that we can tie that into your strategic plan and really start making a difference. Develop some goals, real actions, and start seeing some, you know, real activity in town. That's the goal. So we want something that's tangible, realistic, but also effective, so we can, you know, see some real success here. And again, like she said, she has all kinds of ideas in terms of what she wants to take on. I've been really impressed over the last couple of days. It kind of made me tired just listening to her with all of her goals. So, and I'm a hard guy to tire out. So, so I'm really excited about having Trina here with us. I think she's gonna be a great addition to the team. So with that,
Why don't
Turn it
you
over
get
to
an
you.
extra page?
Anything from council?
Thanks, Trina, for joining us.
Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
Would you like our individual input with regard to the land use?
I would, actually, sure. Ready?
that's what we're here for.
Wait, I got this list.
Councillor Williams, anything from your side of the fence? Little pun intended there.
No, I just want to welcome you to Redwater. I guess you're going to hear from the community what is needed and what's wanted within our community. So I think this is fantastic. And hopefully I'll see you at the next meeting.
Thank you.
It was interesting today during a discussion I was having that the issue of the difference between appearing on paper that we can have something develop and something build and something build, and actually doing that. So I'm glad to see the strategic input. It's long needed. So, thank you.
I look forward to it.
Anything else from council before we move off of this agenda item? No? Okay. So we're down now to item 10.2, council briefing report from the CA.
Through Mr. Mayor, this first part I'm actually really happy with. I was actually kind of skipping and jumping last week when we finally hired Trina. Trina Lane has obviously become part of our team, but I would also like to say that when I started, one of the key things that you had as council gave me in terms of direction was solidifying this team and finding some really good people to become part of the team. And with Trina's hiring, that is the last individual, other than the CAO, that we have had to hire, and I'm actually very, very pleased with the team that we've actually started to put together. I'm finding from an organizational culture perspective, from a performance perspective, from a delivery perspective in terms of services, I think we've really come a long way. And I'm just really happy to be here to let you know that from one of the directions that you gave me, I feel that we've got a completion in relationship to the hiring of your team. So that's the first part of my report. The second part of my report is just an update on the CAO interview process. I thought this would be good for yourselves and for the public to be aware of, and if you have any questions, feel free to ask me the questions. The first stage, obviously, as you know, of the CAO process search has been completed. We're moving on to the second stage of the interview process, which is going to happen on the 12th. Really looking forward to that. Essentially, we're going to have a 45-minute interview where they're going to complete our presentation for you. I have an appendix that I'm going to show to you here in a few moments. And then, of course, then you can make your decision. The key thing in relationship to the question that they're going to be asked, and again, I'd like to get some input tonight on this question to make sure it hits the mark in terms of what you would like, is the candidates have to answer one simple question. As a successful CAO candidate, how will you enable the achievement of council's strategic plan and the vision for the community? And what we'll be looking for, and if they're really smart, they'll be watching this council meeting tonight. What we'll be looking for are things like the ability to follow strategic direction, the ability to develop planning, presentation skills, communication ability, problem solving, positive cultural enabling, right? Again, so getting the team moving towards the goals that you have for the community. Situation analysis, a good analysis of what's the current situation for Redwater, how are we actually going to move forward, so we're not looking for a cookie cutter answer here. Strategy development, relationship building, and political acumen. Now, there might be other things in terms of attributes you're looking for, but these are the key things that we'll be looking for in terms of judging how good this presentation is. And so that's going to happen on the 12th. So I'm looking forward to that. And after I'm done my presentation, I'd welcome some feedback in relationship to how you feel this presentation will go. If we haven't hit the mark in terms of the question, we're more than willing to change this and amend it to what you think might be more applicable. Okay. If I may, the last part of my report is about the situation in Ukraine And I thought maybe we could stop now and maybe just have the questions in relationship to the CAO and the hiring status before we get into that part, because there's going to be some asks and maybe some recommendations in relationship to maybe some actions we should take. So I'll stop now and leave it to you for questions.
Absolutely perfect. I don't see any problem with that. Council, anything with respect to the first half of Mr. Duhamel's presentation?
I think this is an excellent question.
No tweaking required.
I don't think so. I mean, it's our vision of our community, and I mean, we're moving forward with a strategic plan review, obviously, but this is a good direction to go.
If I may, Mr. Mayor, just on your comment, one of the things is sometimes the simplest questions can be, you can get the most out of somebody in relationship to the answer. And there is a lot of meat to this question, as you would know. So it may seem like a fairly simple question, but we're looking for somewhat of a complex answer, and one that's very well thought out, one that's very visionary, and then one that in my mind ties really to the council-admin relationship as well. So those are the types of things I think as council you'll be looking for from your next CEO, and so I was pretty thoughtful when I tried putting this together in relationship to what I've heard you say over the last 4 months in terms of what you want. So again, thank you, Councillor Crosby. I think it hits the mark.
Anything else, Councillor Williams? No, okay. Councillor Olson, go ahead.
Thanks.
That's your cue.
No, I agree with Dean here. I mean, it is a great question. It does provide the opportunity for the individual to really dig deep. You know, think way outside boxes and everything else in order to, you know, it could give the candidate a very good showing when they get into a situation or with problem solving, financing, and so on and so forth, right? So it would give us, I think, a great idea of who our best candidate moving forward.
I think you hit the mark. I don't have any trouble with anything that's been given to us so far with respect to this, and I think we've had a really good process. I think it was 36 or something applications to start with. We're down to 5. We had probably a total of 9.5 hours with those 5 people, and now we're down to 3, and we're going to give them an hour roughly to tell us why they're the best candidate, as opposed to just giving questions. And anybody who's been through a job interview in the last 5 years knows most of those questions, so this is an excellent process, I think.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Okay. If you want to continue with your report, please go forward from there.
Through Mr. Mayor, as everybody is aware, the world is in troubled times. We have a significant conflict in Europe, with Russia's invasion of Ukraine. And there are a number of actions that have been taken by many municipalities across Canada that I wanted to bring to your attention in relationship to things that maybe we could do, but again, up to you in relationship to what you'd like to move forward with. There's been Ukrainian flag raising ceremonies, lighting facilities with blue and yellow related to their flag, issuing a statement of support for sanctions, updating social media pictures of Ukrainian flags on websites, and again, a reminder of community and support services available to residents and how to utilize these services. And one of the things that I wasn't aware of, and I just read in the paper this morning, is that Canada has the 3rd largest population of Ukrainians that do not live in Ukraine in the world. And so we have a really strong Ukrainian community in Canada. My understanding is it's very strong in Alberta primarily. And so I think it's something that, I think would touch all of us in some way, shape, or form in relationship to, community and people that live in our communities. And so I wanted to just leave an open question to council that our recommendation is to probably do something in relationship to what's on this list, but we want to open up to council in terms of your direction to administration as to what you would like us to proceed with in terms of support for the Ukraine situation.
Open the floor to council.
I think it's a great idea, Your Worship. And if we were to do a flag, I would suggest to put it across from the burger barrel, because if you put it here by the town office, a lot of people might not see it. But if it's on the main drag, it's showing the incoming, outgoing traffic, as well as our residents that we support, and we have a very strong Ukrainian culture in this town.
Much so.
I agree. I'd like to see a flag or something over there as well. And I'd like to just ask too, like, I think lighting a facility with blue and yellow would be, I think that is a great idea. Did you have an idea of where or in town or?
I'll say this, as I usually do as a CEO, I'll ask the team and they'll figure it out. I mean, you have a fantastic
I think that's
team.
a great idea.
They'll come up with some really great ideas, and I think they're very motivated on this one, so I'll take the credit, but they'll come up with the
I
idea.
think that'd be awesome just for people to drive through and see the support and the lights, and I think it's great.
I would agree.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Councillor.
I would also like to suggest the social media aspect of,
Oh, yeah.
of it as well.
Social
That's-
media.
That's out there for the world to see, so.
Dave?
Councillor Williams?
I think this is a fantastic idea. But at the same time, the one thing I do not agree with is issuing a statement of support of sanctions. There's gonna be innocent people in Russia that are gonna suffer because of this as well. There's people in Ukraine right now that, there's a lot of controversy right now, what's going on, and I'm not sure what's, you guys have all heard yet so far. But I don't think we should be, condoning sanctions against one group of people when this has been going on for years and years with the states invading other countries. And we just had a family in Redwater who are Palestinian who are fighting to get rights back for their people in Palestine. And not once did anybody support this family in town. So I just want to make it clear that I think this is a fantastic idea. We've got, our Redwater was built by Ukrainians. I mean, it's a Ukrainian town. You know, and like you said, it's Canada as well. At the same time, if we're going to support people, we need to support people. But we also, at the same time, can't wish ill will on another innocent person. They're all innocent in this except for the people that are fighting.
Very fair point.
That's just my thought.
Councilor Williams. So, leave it to your discussion and debate.
Go ahead, Councillor Spicer.
I agree with pretty much everything said, and we need to remind our community of our support services, though, no matter where they fall in this, because this is more just Ukrainians and Russians too. It's, people are scared of a pandemic, and you've gone into now possible threat of third world war, and that's scaring people, and so we need to let everybody know that too.
I know it's a small gesture. Council is in support of anything that our municipality can do reasonably to support the situation. I think if we can obtain flags, I don't know how viable that is currently. I don't know what the stock is like, but if we can, I think very much putting a flag up, as Councillor Butchers mentioned, is great. If the opportunity arises for a focal point in town with the yellow and blue lighting, certainly. Social media and the support of our community through our great people that we have for services, I think is all valuable, and I think it's something that we have to do as a community. And I thank Council for their support this evening with respect to identifying the fact that we are aware of what's happening there and how impactful it is on our little community right here in the middle of Alberta, where we're safe right now. And there's hundreds of thousands of people right now that can't make that statement. So we have to understand that the little bit that we can do is as much support as we might be able to do, but it's certainly going to have an effect on a lot of people. So, does that give you some direction?
Gives us a lot of direction. Just maybe to paraphrase, we will order flags, we'll look at some lighting opportunity, we'll look at social media in relationship to the website, maybe some other things that we'll do. Won't be issuing any statements of support for sanctions, so that's fine as well. If we come up with anything else or hear anything else innovative, we'll let council know right away. But my understanding basically is, in kind, we have council support to take action on the support of the Ukraine situation.
Is that what everybody heard? Yeah. Okay, good. And I'm just going to take one quick second here. Mr. Duhamel, I know within your realm, your role and your responsibilities as CAO, this is something that actually wouldn't normally fall in your purview because it's not something we experience very often. And I compliment you for making sure that you brought that to our attention. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. If I may, just one thing that might be of interest. I was in Ukraine lecturing to municipalities the first time that Russia in 2014 actually invaded and took over Crimea. And I had a week there spending some time while they were at war with Russia. And I have to say, they were amazing people, but the one thing that I have to, just for awareness that they were all really clear with me about is that freedom meant more than anything to them. They didn't care about money, they didn't care about status, they didn't care about anything, but they just wanted freedom. And that was when I saw this happen, it just reminded me of being back there again during that time. It was kind of scary for me being there when it happened. Obviously it didn't affect me in any great way, but that's, that's what resonates with me. It's just all they wanted is to be free.
Anything else on item 10.2? 10.3 is vacant right now.
Will you bring that up?
Oh, sorry. That's correct. I forgot. Go ahead, Councillor Spicer, on homeland housing.
There'll be some more coming for the next council meeting, more information, but the Alberta government is looking at seniors housing and affordable housing and how it's going to look in the future. And they're telling us they want to support it, but there's something they're moving towards, and that's boards that are no longer community appointed or counselors or anything for the residents, but they would have to be, I forgot the term now, where you pick people that have specialties in certain areas and they have to go on this board. So it could really change how these boards look for us.
It's going to be run like a corporation board.
Yeah, Edmonton and Calgary have already done this, and they've done it years ago, and in my mind, that works for them. But here, where we have so many different municipalities and territory involved in this, I don't see this as a good thing for us. But they're adamant that we're going to move towards it. I might be able to find the email here quick enough to tell you what it was.
So they're looking at an appointed board as opposed to
We
a
would still get to
nominated.
appoint them, but it would be somebody that would have to have certain, what's the word for it?
Attributes.
Yeah.
You're looking for CPO for your treasurer, and you're looking for this, and
Yeah.
you're looking for that.
Yeah.
Somebody within the system that's, nursing and so on and so forth, right? So,
Mhm.
so you'd be paying, so you wouldn't, you'd no longer be a not-for-profit then, probably.
Yeah, that could be, it could, we don't know where that's gonna lead. It's called competency-based boards.
Yeah.
That's what the term they use. So, just a heads up. So, if you're talking to your MLAs or whatever, our MLA, this may not be the best for rural Alberta and for our foundation that we're involved in as well.
It almost makes it feel like the provincial government doesn't think the boards are competent enough as it is.
Well, that's often said about a lot of politicians, but it could really affect how our board runs and how the whole, we have a very good board on, and they're very balanced. They look at the whole area and what it needs, what Gibbons and Legal and Redwater and whoever else might need, and they work towards that. So we work very well together. But a competency board, they don't work that way. Who knows?
If I may, if I could maybe ask a couple of questions so I can understand this a bit better. Did they provide you with any evidence or any rationale behind why they feel this is going to be better? Not just saying it's going to be better, but did they provide you with a rationale or an argument or a history, anything that says why they're doing this or why it's going to be better? And then I'll get to the second part of the question.
We haven't seen anything on that level. They did do a presentation, oops, sorry, not the summary, finding the other one. This is something I wanted to send you. It's a Stronger Foundations document. It's a 10-year strategy to improve and expand affordable housing. And nowhere in the mention of it is this competency board thing. And they go through each one really nicely and why we're doing this, support Albertans, and they give objects and actions, and they go through all the points. But nowhere can I find in there where they tell us that a competency board is going to make that happen.
This is from the ministers, seniors.
Yeah.
So through you, Mr. Mayor, I wouldn't say that I've had a lot of experience with the competency board per se, but I have had some dealings with something similar to this. And one of the things that maybe there's a danger in is that basically you have a lot of people that are very dedicated to their community that would no longer qualify for the board. Right? And so it's almost kind of developing, in a sense, a competition situation where if you don't have the right credentials, you can't be on the board. That really limits the types of people that can be on a board. And in my opinion, limits maybe some of that community value that will come from it. Because again, you're taking it from, the community on the whole can compete or say that they want to be appointed to a board, as opposed to you're really reducing the amount of people that would be allowed to be on here. And in some ways, people will compete to be on there not because of community value or because it's something they believe in. It's because they're doing it for either compensation or possibly something that would go on their resume, whatever it might be, right? So that's the only danger, or that is one of the dangers that I would see in doing something like this. You'll really limit the ability to populate the board.
Part of that, I definitely agree with that. The other I see is like an area, say, you look at Morinville being central to our whole homeland housing, so let's just put it all there and we'll just get everybody to move there for senior housing, rather than looking at Redwater and say we want those residents to stay in their community, and Legal and Clyde and Get Westlock and the whole works, right? And so, yeah, there's a structure.
What worries me a bit, and this kind of be the second part of my question, is what was the impetus for this? Was there something that happened, in their opinion, that's requiring this new competency board? Usually there's some rationale behind something, because this is a big change. It's a big change.
We haven't seen anything, really. It was just something that came up. Like I said, Edmonton and Calgary have done this years ago. And so I've only been on the board for a little over a year now. So I haven't seen anything, and it wasn't on the radar until about 3 or 4 weeks ago. All of a sudden, this all popped up.
Yeah.
Councilor Olson?
I agree with what Jim was saying about, you're gonna end up with, I call professional boarders,
Yes.
and that's basically what they're not job title, but I mean, I know of a few people from some of the boards and commissions I've sat on over the years. That's what they look for. They look for the compensation, okay, I'm on a board here, I'm on this board, I'm on that board, I'm on that board, and that's all they do. And that's where you're gonna end up, as you said. We won't end up with the local, we'll end up with the city people coming out and dictating to us, because they'll have the credentials that the provincial government's looking for. And with regards to the provincial government, I mean, they want you to do more, but if you look at the budget that was just put out, they're cutting housing and support for low-income housing. They're cutting it over the next few years, so getting more and more in every year. They want everything, I don't know, they seem to be wanting everything their way. As far as the police force and now this and that.
Personally, it feels more moving to more of a corporate type of private enterprise type of a board, which is more for profit. more financial based, that type of a thing. I can understand why Fortune 500 companies and whatnot look for competency boards, professionals, but that's because there's a for-profit enterprise involved in that. It's not usually community value that they're after, so not quite sure what the impetus would be behind it. That's what I'm curious about. Like, what has prompted this need all of a sudden? That's what I think. We'll do some homework as administration to see and come back to council about maybe what the rationale is. We'll make some calls. Okay.
Councillor Williams, anything you wanted to throw our way? No? Okay.
I was just gonna say what Tim said was perfect, yeah, and I think we'll have the best intentions for the municipalities too. Like, you know, you say, you know, maybe they're more concerned or what of the big population, and they want, you know, have it out for our little municipalities to keep seniors in and around. And so it'd be nice,
Alberta.
yeah, for around. So it'd be, I agree with Tim where he says it'd be nice to have the people on there from the community. They care about their community and what happens in the community, and maybe other people may not have the best intentions for the communities.
Look at the budget, they don't like little people. Look where the money's going.
I hate to use this example because I've used it before on a number of different occasions, but when they had a courthouse here in our community, the judge that came from the city to sit on, in the courtroom looked to the locals who were sitting in the courtroom to determine whether or not his decision was appropriate or was out to lunch, sort of thing. Eh? And they would, you'd get the head nodders and then you'd get the head shakers. So, you know, the judge had a feeling for the community because of what was going on within his courtroom. Once you start having this sort of a situation where you've got externals coming in and directing, one of the first things that's going to happen is they're going to start deciding that they don't want to come out here to have the meetings that they need to organize things and what have you. So they'll centralize those back into the larger centers, and now we won't have the ability to make any comments or input because meetings aren't going to be out here. So it's just, like you say, a left field approach. All of a sudden something's happening and there's no reasoning or provided for it. So a good pick. Yeah, go ahead, Councilor.
There's one more thing there, Your Worship. Last year, I think it was, they canceled all the regional service commissions, authorities. Everybody had to reapply, you know, and with these new bylaws and everything. Right out of the blue. The two commissions I sat on had no idea that we, technically, as of this date, we were no longer gonna be a commission, regional service commission. So what's not saying they're gonna take that over, you know, as well.
Exactly.
They keep changing the MGA on the fly. They announced it today, changing it so the city of Edmonton or municipalities can't make up their own
Seen that.
healthcare rules with regards to masking and that. It will be on the agenda and passed through quickly. According to the Premier.
Okay. Anything further on that? Again, good pickup, and thanks for bringing it to council.
There will be more information coming in the next council meeting. It'll be part of your correspondence and information items.
Good, super. Okay. Agenda item number 11, correspondence and information items. We've received correspondence from Peter Julian, who's a member of Parliament, with respect to a private member's bill C-229 that was reintroduced into Parliament with respect to amending the criminal code for banning symbols of hate. So there's information there with respect to the correspondence. Councilor Olson?
Thank you, Your Worship. I do not think we should support this because as it states in here, we are, if we do support it, it's on the behalf of the number of residents within our municipality. I'm not about to take that position for anybody in my municipality. I have my own opinion, and I don't expect that 2,300 other residents in Redwater to have exactly the same opinion as me. thoughts.
Anything else? Agree.
Councilor Olson.
I agree too.
To my way of thinking, I'm not an expert in this area of process or anything else. To me, this is a referendum question. This is where you go to your electorate and you say, this is an issue.
Yeah.
How do you want us to proceed because of it? As Councillor Olson points out, we all have individual thoughts with respect to it, but bringing it forward to a legislated body as an accurate statement on behalf of everybody who lives in our community is a stretch, in my opinion. I think everybody has the opportunity to do what they would like to do themselves, but not to say that I'm representing every other person in the community.
His email address is on there, I think, isn't it? So
Yeah, further.
individuals that are reading this or seeing it, if they want to send something to them, by all means.
Councillor Williams, did you have something you wanted to put on there?
Get with us, Tim.
I just think this is a little over the top. That's all I'm gonna say.
And like I say, it's a reintroducing of the bill. It was on the table at one point in time and then died. So it's been reintroduced, and I think we've.
The thing,
Go ahead.
sorry, Dave. The thing that bothered me the most about this is because we have a lot of people who are ill-informed, who unknowingly do things that they don't realize that they're being racist. That seems to be the name, the word of the norm for today. Just to push buttons, to get people divided, and to be hurtful. That's why I don't agree with this, because we have some young kids who don't see nothing wrong with flying a Confederate flag. Most people know what the swastika is now, so I haven't seen that. I've been to peace rallies in Edmonton. I haven't seen anything of this sort at all. So for them to come now and try to push this through when we've been the most peaceful and happiest as Canadians that we've ever been, to me is trying to oppress people. That's, people don't know what they don't know. And for me to go look at somebody displaying something and come down hard on them without them even understanding what the big deal is, so to speak, to me, we should be educating people. We're not doing enough of that. Sorry, that's my opinion.
Yeah, no, and I think across the board, we've heard from everybody that there's no action being taken on a community basis. As I say, if somebody decides personally they want to become involved, that's their decision to make, not on behalf of the municipality.
I want to make one more comment. We had a resident who complained about a flag that we had put up this past summer because of all the children that were lost. Now, that could have went a few ways depending on his wording that he had put there, but a lot of people educated him. I don't think he'll ever do that again. But at the same time, that hurt a lot of people. Those words that he put in the paper, he put on Facebook, like the Aboriginal children were not important. It wasn't important to put a flag up. It wasn't important to recognize our Aboriginal people. I bet you he's going to be the first person to comment when he sees our flag go up.
The Ukrainian flag.
Yeah, for support for the Ukrainian people. So this is a touchy one with me. So, anything can be a hate symbol to somebody. So I don't think we need to put it on paper.
Anything else from council on correspondence?
If you accepted the reports before.
Correspondence is information.
Okay. Councillor Butcher has a motion on the floor to accept correspondence. And So, all in favor? Okay. Councilor Spicer has a motion to make.
That we accept the reports as presented.
Under item 10.3. Yes. Any
10.2.
discussion on that? No? Okay, all in favor? Good. Carried.
Motion to adjourn, your worship.
Thank you very much, Councillor Olson. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everybody, for attending and helping out and bringing forward your positions.